Hello to all of you wonderful moms out there. This is episode 54 of the Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life, the life planning show for ambitious moms who want to make a difference at home and at work. I'm your host, Anoki Kapasi, and I'm so excited you're tuning into today's episode because we are going to talk about showing up for a very important person in your life. And you might have guessed it, it's you. Yes, we often overlook ourselves these days, but you are just as important to nurture and follow through on commitments just as much as you do for other people in your life. So have you ever felt like you're breaking promises to yourself? Like you set intentions for how you want to show up in your life, but then exhaustion hits or you're pulled in multiple directions and then you abandon those intentions and feel like you've basically let yourself down. So today I'm going to talk about creating your personal code of conduct. It's a powerful framework that helps ambitious moms to set standards. And these standards are going to be different for each of us, but you can develop these set of standards and apply them in all different areas of your life. For you as a mom, for yourself, as a friend, as a professional. You get the idea. And the best part is that it also serves as a form of accountability for you. I'll be sharing a 6-step accountability plan to set your personal standards for your ambitious mom life. And there is a little surprise I want to share at the end of the episode. So, if you're ready to create harmony across all the roles that you take on in your ambitious mom life, then grab a notebook and a pen and let's get started. Are you looking for a way to blend success and motherhood without losing sight of who you are? I get it. I've been there too. Hi, I'm Anoki, a PhD researcher, business owner, and homeschooling mom of 2 boys. As your life coach, I help moms like you create a life you love at home and at work. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed, overscheduled, and overlooked, and want a clear roadmap to a balanced life, a meaningful career, and finally feeling like yourself again while being the awesome mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this journey to create the life you truly desire, it's time to rediscover your dreams and achieve your ambitious mom life. Before we start, I have a special gift that I want to share with you. I've created a brand new free resource that's perfect for ambitious moms who feel like they're going around in circles with decisions or struggling with following through on how you want to show up in your own life. I'll be sharing more details about how to access this free resource at the end of the episode. But if you get my newsletter, you've already received early access to this resource. So if you enjoy exclusive access, early bird specials, and being the first to know, then my newsletter is where it's happening. And so make sure to get on. Go to solveformom.com and sign up for the Solve for Mom Insiders newsletter at the bottom of any page on my website. I remember a few years ago when I made a promise to myself to become more put together, to plan ahead and get traction on some personal projects and goals. And a friend of mine had told me that she started waking up early to have some quiet time for herself before her kids woke up. And that way she was able to work on things without any interruptions. Well, I thought that sounded like a perfect solution to get myself ahead. So I created a new morning routine that involved me getting up at 5:30 a.m. every day to journal and plan out my day and then go work out. Well, the first morning I set an alarm and I was so excited about this new habit that I thought would transform my life. But when those alarms went off, I just kept hitting snooze. And not once, but 3 times. I told myself, I'll start tomorrow and said, I just need to get a little more sleep today. And then the next day came and the same thing happened. As you can imagine, my husband was not too pleased about this. Well, later in the week, I decided I'm going to go to bed earlier and abandon my evening work so that I could wake up earlier in the morning. But that actually felt harder to me because what that did was it just moved my work that I would have done in the evening to the morning. And it also didn't go as smoothly as I planned because my toddler would wake up when he heard me working and start coming up to me and interrupting my morning routine. So by the end of the week, I had basically abandoned the plan. And when I did that, I kind of felt like a failure, not just because I couldn't execute on my plan, but because I felt like I was letting myself down. I had broken a promise to myself. What I realized is that there were a couple problems with my solution. First, I hadn't taken the time to make sure that this was even the right goal for me. What was my overall vision? What does, put together really look like for me? And was this my goal or was this society's expectation of me that as a working mom, I have to be put together all the time? I also didn't take the time to ask if my plan was consistent with who I am and how I operate. The plan worked for my friend because she enjoys having quiet early mornings to herself. But for me, I'm naturally more productive in the evenings, and sleeping in is actually one of my guilty pleasures. I don't actually like having to be ultra productive first thing in the morning. And also, when it comes to working out, I prefer to work out at the warmer parts of the day, not in the brisk early mornings. But the biggest lesson I learned was that it's one thing to make a promise, and it's another thing to really hold yourself accountable to following through. So in this reflection, life planning actually addresses those first two big questions. Defining what success means for you and aligning your plan in a way that's authentic to who you are, that is consistent with your purpose, your core values, what you love, want, or prefer. Life planning is designed to make sure that as you move forward with your goals and towards your long-term vision, that you're doing it in a way where there's very low resistance by allowing you to work in a way that's already natural to you. When it comes to being accountable to yourself, a personal code of conduct provides a framework to intentionally define how you want to show up in all of your roles and creating clarity about your values and where you place boundaries on your actions and your behaviors. Let's take a step back and quickly review the framework that I teach on this show and I bring my clients that I coach through. So I use a framework that I call the SPA Plus framework. The first step is self-discovery, where we really go through and help you answer the question for yourself, who am I? What are your preferences? What's most meaningful to you? What are your strengths? What do you want out of your life? The next phase is the planning phase, and you get to answer how you're going to create a meaningful life. This is where we build out your life plan, and we also start to align your time and your energy and your relationships and resources and finances all to your life plan. Now, a meaningful life is obviously going to be different for each person. Some people may want to grow their individuality by tapping into their passions or personal growth. You might want to look towards your home and improve the quality of life for your family. Or you might want to create meaning professionally through your career and the work that you partake in. But really, this can apply to any area or transition in your life. So this is the goal setting part. And then the next stage is the achieve phase. And this is where you're going to start taking action. You're going to learn how to gather the support that you need and also stay accountable for moving forward. I like to call this the goal getting part. Okay, so with that overview, when you pair your life plan with a personal code of conduct, you are closing that loop on self-discovery because you're crafting a purposeful life that you love and you're ensuring that you're going to show up for yourself and others in a truly meaningful way. A personal code of conduct is going to bridge all the phases of this SPA Plus framework. Okay, so what do I mean by personal code of conduct? A personal code of conduct is a set of values-based behaviors that you define for each of the roles that you take on in life. It's going to serve as your personal framework for how you intend to show up daily for yourself and for others. It's kind of like a company's code of ethics. It outlines your clear standards of behavior that are aligned with your core values. It creates accountability in all of your roles as an ambitious mom. With your personal code of conduct, you'll be articulating statements like, I will always ... or I will never ... Your code is going to eliminate any ambiguity in decision making. It's going to simplify your moral choices and ensure that your actions and behaviors consistently reflect who you truly are. And often, I basically build in who I'm trying to become, who I would like to be. I think of people in my life or in the world that I admire and whose behaviors I want to emulate, and I build those in to my personal code of conduct. So this is really a powerful tool that creates a sturdy framework that's going to bridge the gap between your life plan, which is, where you're going, and your daily actions, which are how you're going to get there on a day-to-day basis. And ultimately, this code is going to help you maintain balance while honoring all of your roles and your authentic self. So I think of it as an outline of your values combined with your ethical principles. It's a set of standards that you promise to uphold. You really only share it with yourself. I never show it to anyone else in my life because I'm making these promises to myself that I'm going to show up in a certain way. However, it doesn't just impact you. It's going to impact other people in your orbit as well as how you interact with the environment. And this is really a powerful tool when you feel like you're being pulled in multiple directions. Or if you feel disconnected from who you were before you became a mom, or maybe are struggling with maintaining your individuality and balancing all of the duties that you have. And the reason that this is so important for situations like that is because Your set of codes are relevant for your entire life, no matter what your age is. And it's relevant regardless of what role you're taking on in that moment. Just as your values are the foundation of your life plan and who you are, your personal code of conduct serves a similar purpose. And then this code of conduct becomes your accountability system for showing up in a real way for all of your roles. So rather than making impulsive decisions when you're exhausted, your code is going to guide your behaviors in different contexts. How you interact with others, what you're going to do for yourself, what is your work ethic. And one of the most important parts is defining your behavior when you're in especially challenging or triggering situations, because those are the times that sometimes we don't always show up in the best ways. And so if you're really confident and solid with your personal code of conduct, then that is something that you can reliably lean on in the most difficult times of your life. So now I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide on how to create your own personal code of conduct. The first step is to identify all of your roles. So you list all your various roles, like being a mother, a wife, a friend, a daughter, professional, community member, etc. And then you consider which roles are the most important to you and require specific guidelines. The next step is for you to get clear on what your core values are. Now, I have several episodes on talking about how to establish your core values, but it is part of the self-discovery and building your life plan. So you identify the values that guide your life decisions, and then you consider what principles you want to live by across all of these roles. So you can ask yourself questions like, I want to be someone who, and then you fill in the blank. And you do this in order to uncover what your true values are and, like I said, the qualities that you want to emulate. And the third step is to create what I call role and action statements. So for each role, you then define how you want to show up. So you format it with an I will always or I will never statement, but you add in the behavior that's associated with the role. So for example, one of mine is, I will always stop what I'm doing to listen when my children or husband are talking to me. I am not perfect at that, but it is something that I'm really striving to work on. It's consistent with what I want, what I value, and who we are as a family as well. And then the fourth step is really about organizing everything. Your personal code of conduct should include these key areas. One is the conduct you want to show towards yourself. So include statements about how you're going to treat yourself physically, mentally, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. Here's some examples. I will always prioritize adequate sleep to maintain my physical and mental health. I will never speak negatively to myself or engage in negative self-talk. All right, you also want to have codes towards other people. You create guidelines of how you're going to interact with your family, your friends, your colleagues, and even strangers. So one of my personal codes that I shared with you earlier is an example of this. Here's another one. I will never yell at my kids or husband, even when I'm frustrated. A third category is how you'd like to be able to react in challenging situations. Define your behavior during these ethical challenges, financial difficulties, or even dangerous or triggering situations. Here's some examples. I will always default to giving others the benefit of the doubt. Here's another one. I will never choose being right at the expense of my relationships. The sixth step is to build in some measures for personal accountability. Now remember, this is one of the most important parts of your code of conduct because you can make all the promises you want, but you really want to be able to follow through in order to make them work for you. So you want to establish how you're going to hold yourself accountable. Here are some ideas. When you see yourself struggling to maintain your code, then that could trigger you to follow up with a course or to check out a book and learn how to incorporate that code into your life a little better. You could do what I do, which is I like to keep track of how I'm doing with my personal code. So in my planner, I just have a checklist to make sure that I'm actually living by my personal code. Also, it gives me an opportunity on a weekly basis to reread my code, and so they're quite fresh in my mind as I go through my day-to-day. Another way you can hold yourself accountable is to journal about it at a set frequency. And then one of my favorite ways for accountability is to tell other people in your life that this is something you're working on and that they can give you feedback when they see you operating in a way that's not consistent with your personal code. Now, I don't go around and share my entire code with people, but if there's something that's really tricky for me, Like the example I gave about not yelling even when I'm frustrated. There are people who are close to me who know that I'm trying to work on that, and so they will tell me when they see me drifting into that behavior. And the final step, step 6, is to make it official. This is kind of fun, and it feels really great to get to this point. Your document can have a personal declaration. The declaration is basically a statement where you put your name on paper and you promise that you're going to try to live by and adhere to this personal code of conduct that's outlined in your document. And then you sign and date your personal code of conduct. And the last thing I want to remind you is that this is actually a living document. So it's going to evolve and grow. But if you review it on a consistent basis, it's going to be a reminder of who you are beyond any single role that you take on. And it's going to remind you how you can intentionally choose to show up in every aspect of your life. And I really want to emphasize that word choose. You're making these promises, but then you're not going to be perfect at it. But how you show up and how you react really is a choice. And the more you decide to exercise that choice, the more that it is going to become a part of who you are. And that's why in my code, I really like to also incorporate things that I'm not quite there yet at, but I want them to be a part of my character. So part of maintaining this document then is to reflect on how you have changed, where you want to go, and then you review and refine your personal code of conduct regularly during your planning sessions that you have. All right, let's wrap up with what we've learned about creating your personal code of conduct and how it's going to transform, the way that you take action and interact in your life. Because this isn't just another planning tool. It's really about incorporating your core values into your daily actions. So here's what we covered today. We talked about what a personal code of conduct is. We talked about why it's crucial for ambitious moms and how you can create your own code in 6 simple steps. First, identify your various roles. 2, clarify your core values. 3, create role and action statements. And 4, you want to organize the codes into key sections. Those key sections include conduct towards yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, etc., conduct towards others, families, friends, colleagues, and even strangers, and conduct in challenging situations, whether that's emotionally or financially or even in triggering situations. 5, you want to set up a system for accountability. And then 6, you want to make this official with a declaration of some sort. Okay, and so now it's time for my special gift that I promised you. Creating a personal code of conduct doesn't really have to be complicated or time-consuming. And I think it is so important and often overlooked. I am offering a free downloadable template that's going to make this process so simple for you. You can create your code in less than 15 minutes using my step-by-step template, and you can pair it with this episode too. So save this episode so you can listen to it as you work through the template. I don't want you to struggle with how you show up authentically in your roles. And this template is going to guide you through defining the clear standards for yourself and that really reflect your values. So I want you to take it and make it yours. So grab my free personal code of conduct template now in the show notes. This is really a simple tool to take that first step towards feeling like yourself again. Okay, and I just want to remind you that the most important promises are the ones that you make to yourself. Until next time, keep designing a life that feels authentic to you. I hope today's episode will help you create time and freedom to pursue something you love to do. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and tell other purpose-driven mamas about it. Who knows? You might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. I'll see you next week for another episode of Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life with Anoki Kapasi.